Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Boss Audits and Investigations. I hope everyone has been having a wonderful weekend. I myself have actually been kind of keeping it chill this weekend, keeping it chill. Last weekend, I had 2 of my 5 grandchildren for 5 days. So I I'm still exhausted. They exhausted me. As fun as it was still exhausting. Um, so hey there. Hi, Midwest Night Watchers, Mr. Garrel and Chiro Sounds, Miss Jane. Thank you guys for being here. Today we are going to talk about someone in Scientology. I know I said the next episode was going to be, we were going to talk about John McMaster, but I changed my mind. And the reason I changed my mind on this one was because I was listening to, I try to catch all of Serge Delmar's content. I just try, if you can't watch live, definitely always watch in the replay. And one of the things that Serge has been really hitting home lately, kids can't consent, right? Kids can't consent, is the big message. And the depravity that he talks about that is rampant in Scientology, rooted deeply in Scientology. So I thought to myself, you know what? We're gonna dive into Dolores Stokes today. And we're gonna talk about, we're gonna read some stuff, some documents that I found. We're gonna talk about what an auditing session, kind of the setup, right? What it is. Even back then when Scientology first started. So it's not as if, and this is, I guess, the point that I really want to drive home is that the way that Scientology is framed, right? The way that it is structured, it does nothing but breed depravity, okay? It does nothing but breed paranoia, and it's a it's a perfect breeding ground for predators who are looking to groom other individuals that are very vulnerable, and not just children, but adults as well. So we're gonna first take a look at one of the documents that I found. And this investigator, when he did these interviews, he ended up going into Scientology, trying to kind of go a little undercover, kind of get, some more information on what these auditing sessions are like, and what these auditing sessions are structured, what they're structured like, what they are. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry, guys. It's so much to take in. And before we get started, I want to make sure everybody understands there's a trigger warning on every single one of these episodes. I'm going to actually, I think, kind of come up with a little bit of an intro to put before these videos and these episodes, Scientology Chronicle episodes, because I do want people to realize that these subjects that we talk about can be very, very taxing on your mental health. They can really wear on you. And because of the sensitive nature, because of the horrendous topics and subject matter that we will be covering in this series, uh, it really does need a trigger warning. And please, everyone, if you need to pause the video at any of these videos in this series, to take a breath, get up, walk away for a minute, come back later. You know, if that's what you need to do for your mental health, please do so. Please do so, because these are topics that can be very disturbing. Some of the information we over time as we get going into this series, you will see can really wear on your mental health. Okay, so trigger warning. This is sensitive subject matter that we are going to be talking about in this series. All right. So everybody, please take good care of yourself. All right. So Dolores Stokes, just a little background for you. Dolores Stokes was very early on. Hey, Alan, how are ya? Dolores Stokes very early on was in Scientology. I'll be honest with you. I have tried to do as much research as I could do on her. I'm not 100% sure how she actually got into Scientology. All right. I have not been able to find that little like piece of information that ties her how she got into it. But what I will tell you is that she definitely is someone that was with Hubbard. She was actually she was out of the Dallas org, or the Dallas Church of Scientology in 1968. She was, and I'm going to show, let me share that with you guys. One moment. Let me pull it up. She was, hold on one second. Hold on, guys. My apologies. I thought I pulled the wrong one up. She definitely was very very active, and she was a part of Scientology going way, way, way back. She 19, here we go. And this is an announcement, okay, amongst a lot of the other stuff I found. This is an announcement. And let me see if I can, let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger for y'all. It was from 1968 from the Dallas org. And right there it says, our goal is to have 10 clears in Dallas by mid 1968. Already Dolores Stokes, Joy Walter, and Alan Walter are clear. Okay, so in 1968, she was already a clear. She also was, at some point, she was L. Ron Hubbard's personal assistant, his personal secretary. So we definitely, I've been able to find that out. I've seen that in numerous documents. I have not been able to see or find what years she was his personal secretary, but she is someone that was with Hubbard. Okay. She had been with Hubbard, training with Hubbard. So that I wanted to kind of like let you guys have that as a little bit of a base, so that you guys, a little foundation as we go through some of this stuff. So we're going to go through, one second, guys. Here we go. I have to grab this from another angle. All right. So I'm just going to kind of go over this. We're going to just go through this really quickly, because the other stuff I think is a little bit more important. So, let's see. Individuation. It says possibly one of the major mental illnesses of our times. Symptoms: loneliness, no close friends, inability to keep case gains, cannot belong to a group, very critical of others, often upset and argumentative. An individuated person cannot work as part of a team. I find that so interesting. Not only that, he or she is always getting upset with people, continuously feels that people are against him or her. The real thing is that a person who is individuated is really against everyone. If you suffer from loneliness, it is because you are individuated. You are against people. Therefore, people feel this attitude and go against you. An individuated person would love to have close friends but never can. Often an individuated person who is married cannot feel close to his family. Individuated people would like to belong to a group, but somehow they cannot. About the only group to which individuated people can belong is some type of drinking group. If they get half drunk, they can put up with another. Another symptom of individuation when a friend leaves the group or is out of earshot. Individuated people criticize, complain about, and generally attack that person's character in an attempt to make the missing person seem bad. This is commonly known as gossiping. A salesman who is individuated would have great trouble with his customers as he would be working against them, and they also would be working against him. A married couple, where one or both are individuated, would work against each other instead of working together. A businessman who is individuated from his staff would find that he is against his staff and his staff is against him. A person caves in by individuating. Because of his individuation, this person is always upset. Life goes poorly for him and should he belong to a group, the group quickly gets disorganized. Today, Scientology has made a forward step in clearing an individual of his aberrations and his upsets. And I love what they say at the bottom, Utopia Scientology style, the perfect group. A group of individuals with each person trained in how to make another better, willing to help each other get better. As one person gets into better shape, he can help the others get into better shape. This is a continuous effort. In time, each person in the group would become much better. Not only that, but this is the only way to get and keep stable case gains. It is always the highest toned and most able people who can belong to a group that is as high survival goals or that has high survival goals. Now, I find this particular, oops, sorry guys. Oh, I find this, hi, Winston. I find this bulletin announcement announcing all of their clears and how they want to have all of these people cleared by the end of 1968. I find it interesting because it's talking about, remember, the first time we heard about Dolores Stokes was in our last week's episode and introduction regarding a couple. The woman was into Scientology. The husband was not so much. He was kind of like, oh, I don't know about this. And she left her husband to go and study and with Scientology and do Scientology. And they were separated, physically separated. The husband wanted to continue to try to work out their marriage. However, the wife was like, nah, I'm doing this thing and you're not into it. So I don't know if I can do it with you because of this. So what he did is he went to his local Scientology center, went and talked to them and got hours and hours and hours of auditing and processing. And the auditor called up Dolores Stokes and said, hey, he wants to keep going. He wants to do Scientology now. He wants to do it and tell her to stop the divorce proceedings. And that's what happened. So the wife did it. And they were, even though they were still separate, they were still trying to have a marriage. But I mean, it's real difficult to have, not, it's hard to have a marriage and have a functioning, healthy marriage when one person's in one place and another person's in another place, right? But even though this guy was doing everything he could possibly do, every time they would have, as the document we discussed last week, upsets in their marriage, who called? Who was on the phone? It was Dolores. And Dolores would tell him, basically, get shit together, man. Get it together, or it isn't going to work out. So Dolores Stokes was one of these people who had a lot of power, a lot of power. She is one of the first auditors. She was really, like I said, she spent time with Hubbard as his personal secretary. So she knows full well every single thing that somebody needs to do to what? Follow the rules, right? But she's also one of the people who later on began to perpetrate. I've heard a lot of people, I've heard, oh no, Nora, and I have heard other people mention that Scientology creates and births sociopaths. And I believe that's true. I believe that's true. From all of the documents that I have seen and read over these last few weeks, a lot of these people over time, because you're going to see as we get going, a lot of the same names, a lot of the same people, same names being mentioned. Okay. So Dolores, and let me show you a picture of Miss Dolores. Second. This is Dolores Stokes. The gentleman on her right is Red Shea. I have not gotten into him yet. We will, though. But the two of them at some point even wrote a couple of books together. So this is Dolores Stokes. This is who we're going to be talking about today. All right. So just kind of like, sometimes it helps when you can have a face to not imagine about, right? I hate it when that does that. I hate it when my screen does that. Oh, really? Alan, really? In the late 80s and 90s, you used to get calls for a free session with Scientology. Listen, I have heard, and I truly wholeheartedly believe it. Like, if they get your name, your phone number, your address, like, they're going to drive you crazy, and they're going to not, they're going to just keep after you for years. I've heard that. That is like a running thing I've heard. So that doesn't shock me. It doesn't shock me. Another thing too that I will, and we're gonna get into it in just a little bit. We're gonna get into the end of her life. But I kind of wanted to just start where, give you guys a little bit of background. So she's a clear. She was Hubbard's personal secretary. She's now clear. She's an auditor. Okay. She's an auditor. And before we actually get going on a, hold on one second. I want to close this so I don't get confused on which tab I need to open. Before we get going on the report that describes some stuff here, I want to show you a document. Again, this is it's Ray McGregor, again, is the investigator. Ray McGregor was investigators for the Attorney General at the time. Okay, back in 1969. So we're first we're going to take a look. He had gotten into, I don't know how he did it, but he did it. He did get into Scientology somehow, some way. And he at some point, this not in this document, but at some point he does get into there. He does get into Scientology, and he does later on describe what he went through. Now, what we're going to talk about today, though, is a document that I found where someone gave him all of the recipe, what the recipe for auditing is. Okay. So let me see. So we're going to start, we're going to start here at number 11. The Arlington Franchise Center makes out a weekly report, and it's kind of also, guys, before I get started, this is also, it's the recipe for auditing. It's also, people have given him the, explain to him details of how the organization also operates, okay? How the entire organization operates, all right? Actually, you know what? We're going to start with number 10. Scientology conducts training drills for its students in the early stages of the processing. Such drills compose of communication and confront. A practice utilized by Scientology in their communication is a drill known as Dear Alice. And we are going to go over that drill and what that drill is at some point, not tonight, because we're talking about Dolores Stokes tonight. The Arlington Franchise Center makes out a weekly report, and on such report are listed the recipients, the receipts, the expenditures, number of students, staff members, and any notation as to problems confronting the particular center. 10% of the receipts are transmitted to the worldwide headquarters for Scientology. The 10% of receipts is transmitted for services rendered by the headquarters, such as books, pamphlets, course instructions, etc. Now, I will tell you guys, in a lot of the documents, I see that same 10%. That 10% goes to the headquarters of all of these because at one point they all start becoming these franchises. So I've seen in many, many documents where they do talk about having to send that 10% of whatever their sales were or whatever they sold, whatever courses, books, everything, auditing sessions, that 10% is supposed to go directly up to Hubbard. Okay. For a student entering Scientology who is under 21 years of age, he must obtain parental consent before processing will be instituted. Now, having said that, it's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring this document up. Even though that he put that in his report, I'm finding in many other documents, and we will get to those as well, many other documents, lots and lots of people under the age of 21. Okay. And their parents were not giving consent. The parents never gave consent for auditing or processing. Okay. So just keep that in mind, even though he says that. Following will be the set of questions that an auditor uses in Scientology processing from the grade 0 release through the grade 4 release. It is noted that each release of this, it is noted that each release of this particular franchise center costs $175, and there is no set particular franchise center cost. Let's see. And there's no set time. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Let me just start that over. It is noted that each release of this particular franchise center cost $175, and there is no set time, as such time varies with a particular student. It is further noted that the auditor during the auditing sessions makes no comment whatsoever other than asking these questions. At the outset, the goal is noted and the particular release is not terminated until the pre-clear signs an attestation that he has attained that particular goal. So they charge you $175. Doesn't matter how much time it takes when you go into these auditing sessions. They're going to use the same questions over and over and over and over and over and over. Okay. Until it says at the outset, the goal is noted and the particular release is not terminated until the pre-clear signs an attestation that he has attained that particular goal. Okay. So here we go. Grade 0 release. The goal is the ability to communicate freely with anyone on any subject. The commands are, so this is your very first time you're here, very first time you're having an auditing session, and you're sitting down with your auditor, and these are the commands. What are you willing to talk to me about? What would you like to tell me about? In this particular release, these are the only 2 comments, and they are used over and over until the pre-clear feels he has attained the particular goal involved. Just like Serge Delmar talks about on his channel all the time. It's repeat, repeat. Serge, you're here. Oh my gosh. Serge, I didn't even see you here. I'm so sorry. Yeah, literally. It is over and over and over. I couldn't see the chat. Thank you for being here, Serge. So yeah, it's what are you willing to talk to me about? What would you like to tell me about? And it's just repetitive over, over, and over until the person feels like, oh, yeah, I got what I came for, Oh, okay, all right. The next one is what is the problem? The next set of commands for release for grade 1 release, what is the problem? What solutions have you had? Now, Stetzel, this particular person, Stetzel, he's the guy that we talked about last in the first episode. He's the one that Dolores Stokes was totally completely in the middle of his marriage. With his wife, him and his wife, okay? So that's him. So he says Stetzel advised that as a rule, comment number 2 is used over and over again, inasmuch as the pre-clears solution usually creates another problem, which makes sense. But yes, total torture for kids. Exactly, Serge. Exactly. It just, if someone is just sitting there asking you the same questions over and over and over and over and over until like, I don't even know how somebody wouldn't go totally mental in that moment, because you're just so like, what do you say to that person? You know? But look, let's look at the next one. Let's look at the next set of questions, or commands as they called them. The next commands. What have you done? What has been done to you? What has another done to another? I mean, again, Serge talks about on his channel all the time. It's all about, it's making it seem as if there has to be something that you've done, right? But whatever it is you've done, it's pretty damn bad, because you can't get to clear. You can't get to clear unless you confess it. And if you can't confess it, you're staying here until you confess it. It says the goal is relief from hostilities and sufferings of life, commission or omission, sinful or unethical, something akin to guilt feelings. And the commands are, what have you done? What has been done to you? And what has another done to another. The next the next one is grade 3 release. The goal is freedom from the offsets of the past and the ability to to face the future. I can't read today. The commands are, what change has happened in your life? This question is asked repetitively and given a date. We hear Serge talk about that all the time. What was the date? When did it happen? Date, time, and event, I think is what Serge says. There it is. It says, this question is asked repetitively and given a date. The next command, was this a break in affinity, reality, communication, or understanding? During the release, the e-meter is utilized to find the arc break and to then determine, are you curious about, desired, enforced, or inhibited? It's so messed up. So, grade 4 release. The goal is moving out a fixed condition and gaining abilities to do new things. And the commands are, what do you use to make others wrong? A list is compiled through the use of the e-meter. And then, how does blank make you right? So I share this with you guys. Because one of the things, I'm sorry, I always do that. I always stop it the wrong way. The reason that I wanted to share that with you guys is so you can kind of, and Serge, you're right. Let me put up your comment. Yes. And you can't leave the room. You have to tell them you have to tell them you are having so many wins. You are being abused as a child, but you learn to say, it's great, or they won't stop repeating the questions. And yes, that is so true. I even came across another, gosh, I have come across so many accounts of people. I even have an account. We're going to go over her story too, where they literally carried her like over the guy's shoulder, carried her upstairs, locked her in the room, and didn't let her leave until the session was over. She tried to call the police. The cops came, and the husband was like, "Oh no, she's fine now. She's okay. She didn't really mean to call you. She's laying down resting." I mean, I have found so many accounts. They don't let you go until they get what they think is the desired response, period, plain and simple. But I wanted you guys to kind of see how it progresses, right? And we hear it, Serge talks about it, everybody talks about it, all of the former Scientologists talk about it. But I wanted you guys to see in writing. And again, this was an interview. Someone gave the details to Ray McGregor, who was an investigator for the Attorney General's office. And this is back in 1969. Okay, now we're going to go to an interview of a person, and his name is Marvin Feldman. Okay. So this investigator, Ray McGregor, this investigation, again, it's the Attorney General's office. And we're just going to read it. And there's going to be a part, and we're going to get to a part. Hi, Kimmy. Thanks for being here. Serge, thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot. It means a lot. I really want to show the never ends, because again, I'm a never end. A person never in Scientology, but all in on ending the cult. Okay. And that's why I'm doing this, because kids can't consent. Kids can't consent. And it is part of why I'm doing what I'm doing. And if I get 5 people who listen, great. If I get 1 person who listens, great, because that's people listening and listening to the truth. So I'm pouring through all of these documents, and we are going to show the never ends the reality. That's the reason I'm doing this series, is because I know we hear all, Serge, really, thank you for sharing everything that you share on your channel. And I appreciate you so much. And if you guys have not already subscribed to Serge Delmar, please go and subscribe to his channel. And if Jane or Garrel could put Serge's, hi Jody, Serge's link to his channel in the chat, I'd so greatly appreciate it. Because we need that. We need to hear the inconvenient truth. And we have to start advocating for children. We have to. Because when we start pouring through all of these things when I start sharing with you, I mean, what we're going to talk about tonight is pretty effed up, but oh my gosh, there's so much more. And there's so much depravity that's going on that is in these documents. In them. The government knows about them. Don't sit here, they can't sit here and go, oh, we never knew. La 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 la. No. These are their documents. This is an investigator with the United States Attorney General. And there's one of those attorney generals that we're going to talk about when we get there. I don't know when the episode we're going to do it on, but Rudy Giuliani is part of it. He was well aware of Scientology and their frauds and abuses. And as I began to pour through all of this, I got more enraged and more enraged and more enraged. And all of people like Serge and Nora and Aaron and Natalie and all of these amazing people who have begun to rebuild their lives and are now advocates and for the elderly. We need to help support them. And I just found this to be my way. I was like, I think the never ends need to see it in black and white. It's not just words. Seeing it sometimes, just seeing it makes a difference. And it hits you in a different way because it's in your face. It's in your face. So when we start reading a lot of these accounts and going through these things, be prepared. Like I said, trigger warning, trigger warning. Because a lot of this shit is messed up. Going all the way back to the 50s, going all the way back to the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. Trust me, it doesn't get any better. Doesn't get any better. So, sorry, got a little sidetracked. Sorry, got on a soapbox. My apologies. All right, so we're going to go through this account of Marvin Feldman. This is an interview with Ray McGregor of the Attorney General's office. And here we go. On May 27th, 1969, writer. Now, when they say writer, it's Ray McGregor. He's the writer. He's the writer of the document. So the writer proceeded to Dallas and talked to Marvin Feldman. And again, guys, I'm not doxing anybody, anybody's name, anybody's address, anybody's phone number, anybody's anything. These documents can be found online. And you're right. Yes, Serge, you're right, 100%. The devil is in the details, receipts. Well, we're going to show, trust me, Serge, I'm going to be showing so many receipts. I don't even know how long this series is even going to be. I got the receipts. So I'm not doxing anybody. All of these can be found online. Yes, they're all out there. So I'm not doxing anybody. All right. So the writer proceeded to Dallas and talked to Marvin Feldman. Feldman is presently living in Mexico City and comes to Dallas occasionally in connection with his door lock business. It will be noted that Feldman was a Scientologist for about a year and a half, but became disenchanted with the movement and has spoken out against Scientology. In addition to the following information, Feldman did make available several pieces of literature with relevance to Scientology. Feldman, let me just scroll up. Feldman furnished the following information. He was introduced into Scientology by answering a newspaper ad for a company known as Power Leadership Inc. Such company was headed by Alan Walter and Ed Clapp, and its purpose, according to Feldman, was to introduce Scientology into the business community. The business community appeared to be interested in the program of Power Leadership, but each time a contact was made by the salesman, Walter and Clapp failed to follow through, and the company in time folded. Feldman analyzed Power Leadership Inc. as a method by which Walter could make a buck on the side. Clapp was strictly a salesman type, having previously worked for several insurance companies. He described Walter, the Scientology franchise holder for Dallas, Kansas City, St. Louis, etc., as a pompous know-it-all. The classes the classes of Power Leadership Inc. were conducted in the offices of Scientology Exchange Park Tower, and since has moved. It was in the latter part of 1966 that Feldman commenced his study in pure Scientology, inasmuch as he was out of work. He was out of work and somewhat depressed. After being in Scientology only a short time, he was advised to divorce his wife, inasmuch as she was a deterrent to his progress. Remember earlier when we started at the beginning of the episode talking about the Dallas franchise and their little announcement where it talked about, hey, if your wife isn't, if your wife isn't doing it, that individuating thing, okay? So here we are, another proof that they're serious about this shit. Feldman did admit that he had intended to divorce his wife anyway, but the Scientology decision did act as a salve to his conscience. Feldman had no exact figure as to how much money he had paid to Scientology, but claimed it was several thousands of dollars. He said he received no benefit whatsoever from Scientology training and processing. Okay. Feldman was a member of Scientology for a year and a half, taking part in the processing of Scientology and not the training aspect of it. As follows are some of his impressions of the organization. So Feldman's impressions were: Scientology has two separate functions. Now, this is the guy, I'm sorry, before I get going, let me take a drink of water. This is a guy, though, that's only been doing this for a year and a half. Okay. That's like a nanosecond to, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years that people have been in Scientology, right? So a year and a half. So after a year and a half, he already had these impressions. Scientology has two separate functions: the obtaining of the certificates and the auditing. Two prices. Scientology claims it has a liberal policy with regard to the refunding of money to its pre-clears. Well, we know that's BS. Feldman says this is not so. You are given a test by an auditor to determine if you are deserving, in quotes, deserving to get the money back. The interpretation of such test is strictly up to the auditor. So if you do an auditing session and the auditor's like, oh yeah, you can have your money back, you get your money back. If the auditor says, no, you're not getting your money back, sorry, you're not getting your money back. If at the completion of a particular grade release, the pre-clear does not feel that he has reached or accomplished the specified goal, he is required for additional consideration to take a review course. Scientology answer is thus: for any unsolved problem, a review course, a review course, a review course. In other words, it is your fault that you're not getting where you need to be in Scientology, and you just need to take another course. And if that course didn't work, you need to do it again and again and again and again until you go, okay, I give up. I'm done. I won't ask for my money back. The cost of the training, the cost of the training, the certificates, the grade releases, the review courses, etc., are never set published prices, but are strictly what Alan Walter thinks they should be at any given moment. It is not obligatory that Scientology students buy the numerous books and publications of Hubbard about, and then he says in quotations, in parentheses, about 50 books. But most of the training and processing is geared to the students' familiarization with one or more of the publications. The publications are widely advertised in Scientology periodicals and are prominently displayed at all Scientology franchise centers. When a question is presented to the auditor, he merely directs the pre-clear to a costly Hubbard publication. Feldman described L. Ron Hubbard as a beautiful con artist. Now, remember, guys, this is in 1969. Like Scientology, like at this point, I believe has been, about a decade. He's describing him as a beautiful con artist. He has never met Hubbard, but came by his description upon the writings and he has never met Hubbard, but came by his description upon the writings and prepared takes by Hubbard. Feldman had experienced many difficulties in life, whom he attributed to his stepfather. This stepfather had committed self-deletion. You can read it there, but self-deletion 6 years ago. During Scientology processing, he was advised to disconnect from his passed on stepfather. Thus, at the urging of Scientology, he wrote a letter of disconnect to his passed on stepfather. Okay, so now we're writing letters to disconnect to people who are no longer on this earth with us anymore. So, okay, so there's that. Okay, so all right. Now, we're gonna pause it. We're gonna pause it for 1 second. We're gonna pause it before we get to the next part, because when we get to the next part, this is where Dolores Stokes comes again into the thing. Okay. Hey there, Relevant Panda. All right. So Marvin Feldman had a whole lot of impressions that were really dead on. That were but I have to say, and Serge or anyone else who's a former Scientologist, if that is something that Scientology normally does, like, do they, like, if they think that someone that's been in your life has passed away and they think that that person is causing you trouble, like, do they make, because I don't know. I mean, again, I don't know. Do they make you literally write a letter of disconnection to a loved one that has passed on? Or, I mean, it's so strange. I just find it weird. Um, okay, so the next part that we're going to talk about, where Dolores pops up. Give me a second. Let me put my fan on high. This is hot in here. It's so hot. That's what I get for living in South Florida. AC on, but feels like it's not. Okay, this next part that we're going to discuss that's in this report is very disturbing to me. I find it highly disturbing. And I will say once again, I want to make sure that, because like in the beginning of the episode, we talked about how Scientology breeds sociopaths. Like you kind of, it's almost like if the person wasn't already a sociopath, but I think some of them are, you know what I'm saying? Like in my mind, I feel like from all of the things that I've read, Scientology was this perfect storm where people who were already cuckoo cuckoo when they started Scientology, and then it fed into their own sicknesses in their own minds, right? Okay, so Dolores, we know that Dolores Stokes in 1968 was considered her announcement from the Dallas franchise org thing, that not org, but Dallas franchise. She was a test to clear in 1968, early 1968. We know that she, at some point, I have not found an actual date or anything to corroborate, just that I have seen it said just this way in 4 or 5 other documents, that she was at some point L. Ron Hubbard's personal secretary. And again, I will show that photo of her. Let me show another photo of her. I'll show you guys a photo of her so you guys can get a load at what Dolores looked like. This is Dolores Stokes. Red Shay and Dolores Stokes. And we'll talk about Red Shay more later in another episode. So that is Miss Dolores Stokes. All right. So let's get to this next section of what Marvin Feldman had to say. Okay. Marvin Feldman also reports to Ray McGregor. He says that he had actual with Dolores Stokes, a clear who at one time was Hubbard's personal secretary. Stokes had propositioned him by stating, quote unquote, I have removed my hat of Scientology and have put on my actual hat. He, in an auditing session with Stokes, admitted to having actual relations with, or she, I'm sorry, she, I think he meant she, relations with another student. And Stokes related such misdeed to Walter. Walter berated him for about an hour for act and acts, but then concluded by telling him that he could get straight by paying $200. So let's make sure that we got that. So pretty much Mr. Feldman goes to do an auditing session with Dolores here. And Dolores is a clear. But Dolores lets him know, like, hey man, not for nothing, but if you're okay with it, I'm good with it. I can just take off my Scientology hat and I could put on my other hat and we could do the thing. And I'm sure it's going to be great. So he does it. Because she also says to him, like, "Hey, it's all good. It's all good." Because I do this with all my other students. I do this with all my other people that I audit. It's all good. So it leaves me again wondering, thinking, was I mean, what is this dynamic going on at this point, right? Like, did she believe that this was helping people? Because I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that it's very possible she may have been a uh, predator, an actual predator, and that this is how she got her rocks off, honestly. And then the guy is so like, the guy feels probably so guilty, and he goes and he says to them, he's like, "Hey, I just did this with her. Like, I shouldn't have done that. I did it, but I shouldn't have done it." And the guy's like, the guy gave him all kinds of, it says right there, he berated the guy for over an hour, but then was like, "Hey, man, if you can pay me $200, it's all good. Yeah, we're good. We're good. 200 bucks to get your freak on with Dolores Stokes. And you get to and I got to berate you for an hour. So $200, it's a good time. And make sure if you want another appointment for another auditing session, you book it in advance. No walk-ins allowed." I mean, really? Like, at what point? Like, is he her pimp at this point? Is she a lady of the night at this point? Is this like, is she like one of Scientology's very first madams? I don't know. I'm finding this very weird. Very weird. So we have this person who is a clear, and she is in her auditing sessions taking off her Scientology hat and getting it on and having freak offs. I don't know. Her and Diddy maybe together, her and Diddy, like, yeah. Now I will say that, Hubbard Hubbard was very into, and like I said, she was his personal secretary. I don't know exactly when, and I don't know for how long, but let's not forget there is a huge tie back to the occult when he was in England, and he spent a lot of time with Aleister Crowley, who was very obsessed with the occult, very obsessed with sex magic, it was a very big part of what Aleister Crowley was about, what he taught about. So, Hubbard spent a lot of time with him. Um, so I don't know if back then in the 50s and the 60s, in the 50s and the 60s, if this was something that was kind of really like maybe he did with other people, like I don't know if she saw it from Hubbard, if she got this idea from Hubbard, or she was just, one of those predators who preyed on people. I don't know. Wasn't there. I don't know. Again, all of this is alleged because it isn't like what we're reading came from her mouth. This is hearsay, I guess you could say. So it's all kind of alleged. Uh, but it doesn't paint her into a very, very fond light at all. Yes, Jody, a position of power. It's that power imbalance again, right? Dustin, I love you too. Um, let me just go through the comments in case I missed anything. Okay. Yes. Okay. So Serge said, yes, the devil, yes, the devil's in the details, receipts. And irrelevant panda. Hi, catching up from the beginning on squirrel speed. Yes. But I was curious, where did the trove of documents that you're going through come from? Actually, Irrelevant Panda, some of them, and I found them in a lot of different places. So one of the places I found them was the Wayback Machine. I found a lot of them there. I also found a bunch of um, I found a whole bunch of FOIA requests because, like I said in the introduction last week, a lot of these documents come from all of these different interviews and different people contacting all of these different agencies back in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, where people are giving these, they're calling because they're like, they're having this issue with Scientology, that issue with Scientology, issue, so they were calling and writing all these letters to all these different agencies, the FBI, FDA, the Better Business Bureau, Department of Welfare. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. And so there are a lot of FOIA requests that I found, and a lot of the FOIA requests were very heavily redacted. Heavily redacted. But then I found another, and I'm gonna be honest with you right now, I can't remember the name of the other website. I'm sorry, it's off. I can't remember. But I found a lot of them that had been originally heavily redacted in the FOIA request. I ended up finding on another website, same documents except unredacted. So that's what we're kind of going through. Hi there, eat more pizza. Jody says, could it be a way to get more money too? I agree. I think so, because there was in that little part where Feldman kind of says, oh, the prices, the prices are never really a set price. It's not like they had a price list, right? Where they kind of said, for 30 minutes of auditing or an hour of auditing is, 100 and whatever. It's whatever they felt like they probably needed or wanted at the moment. And who knows? I don't even know, because I wasn't there. Wasn't in the room. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it was kind of like, you paid your $175, Mr. Feldman, and if you'd like to spend a little bit more, you can get this. But I don't know. I wasn't there. Wasn't there. But yeah, I think it could have been for money. Yeah. Hey there, eat more pizza. Dustin, I wish I could have been there with you this weekend protesting. I couldn't do it though. SP Wog, welcome. Thank you for being here as well. I know. Code name Soda. Code name Soda. I love it. Hey, Alan, I'm so glad you're still here too. I don't see you much. You got to come by more often. Hey there, Tom. L. Ron Hubbard's name was Satan. What? 10 times, 10 plus time tracks ago? Okay. Yeah, there's a lot to be said. And honestly, I thought about kind of going down the road and doing some uh looking into the whole Aleister Crowley thing, okay? But I know that there's a lot of it on there online. I know it's out there. If you go to YouTube and search Aleister Crowley and L. Ron Hubbard, I guarantee you're going to find a bunch of stuff that comes up. It's out there. You'll find it. If one of my mods could do a couple things for me, if you guys could put Dustin's channel, and if you guys don't already support Dustin, Make sure you guys go do that because Dustin is one of our streamers, one of our protesters here in Clearwater and or Cultwater. The Cultwater, he's part of the Cultwater crew with Lori Plays and Aaron and Laura. I'm sorry, Lori Plays, Aaron, Farrell, Cheryl. He's all out there with those wonderful people in Clearwater. So please, please, please go and subscribe to Dustin if you have not already. Also, Midwest Night Watchers, one of my mods, and Shiro Sounds, they both also have channels. Go subscribe to their channels. Go check them out. They are amazing. They have great interviews with all kinds of people from all over everywhere. You guys are amazing mods. Thank you for being here. Thank you guys for supporting me so much. We're not done yet though. Don't go anywhere because we're not done yet. We're not done with Dolores Stokes. I just wanted to kind of like the last couple of shows, my apologies. I have not given the thank yous and accolades to my wonderful mods. I don't know, sometimes my brain gets just like blinks out. And my apologies for that to you mods because you guys are amazing and you guys rock. And I love you guys. Okay. Dolores Stokes. So Dolores Stokes, after we find out she's kind of been offering some extras on the side, when I was doing research, I was trying to, like I said, I was trying so hard. I was trying so hard to find the date or a time frame of when she was Hubbard's secretary. So I just started, when I was doing my research, I came across like this whole thing, a couple of articles online about her. So we're going to look at those. Give me 1 second. Okay, so all right. So we're gonna, so let me share this with you guys. Hang on 1 second. The only thing about I need another monitor so that I can like share stuff and then like I can read and then I can see what you guys are saying. Like I need another monitor. And eventually, I promise I'll get one. I don't know when, but I'll do it eventually. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. I also need watch hours. So I have created some playlists. If you guys want to kind of like hit a playlist and put it on loop and mute it and walk away, I'd appreciate it. I'm getting there. I'm a third of the way there. I have a little over 1,000 watch hours. I need a couple thousand more. I'd appreciate it so very much if you, there's so many ways to support a channel. Watch hours is one of them. Liking videos, sharing out content, leaving a comment, actually making comments in the in the chat. That actually also helps too. When there's a lot of activity in the chat, that also helps like boost that algorithm and get your channel out there. So I greatly appreciate it. So please support my channel in any which way you feel comfortable and whichever way you can. I greatly appreciate that. CC, abracadabra comes from Crowley. Yikes. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Aleister Crowley was he's a little creepy. SP Wog, Nonaboss. I was at a Dollar Tree, Missouri Ave, Clearwater this morning. I'm floored. There was a stack of booklets. What are human rights? Youthforhumanrights.org, United for Human. Interesting. That's pretty interesting. I wonder if they planted them there. Human Rights for Youth is a sign. Exactly. They're a Scientology front group. 100%. 100%. Yeah. And you're right. The mods are unseen heroes. They really, really are. Yeah, I'll bet you if you found that and saw that in like a listen, they are having trouble getting the word out. They're having trouble. They can't, when the protesters are there, because let's, they're trying to still get people inside. So I've heard that, and I think is it Audit LA? Yeah, you're boycotting. And the manager, you're right. The manager might be a Scientologist. I would not go there either. I do the same thing. Soon as I heard that like ABC Mouse is also one of those, I was like, I told my kids, I was like, you better not have my grandchildren watching and playing with ABC Mouse stuff. So yeah, I do that. I don't think I've seen a Tom Cruise movie in a long, I mean, it's been decades since I've seen a Tom Cruise movie. Yeah, I do that myself. If I find out that they're Scientology, some front group or whatever, I boycott it. I did not know Elizabeth Moss was a Scientologist, and I didn't know it until I had listened to Leah Remini talk about how she had to get up and leave out of an award show or something because Leah got the award for the aftermath. I don't know if it was an Emmy. I'm sorry, I'm bad with that stuff. And Elizabeth, I did not know that she was a Scientologist. And when I found that out, I was a little on the heartbroken side, but I stayed true to my beliefs and I stopped watching The Handmaid's Tale. So I don't know how it ends. Yeah. So, all right. So Dolores Stokes. You know what I'm going to do, guys? Give me 1 second. I'm going to make this like full screen for y'all. Please remember, trigger warning, guys. All of the stuff that we talk about on this channel and in these episodes and in this Scientology Chronicles series I'm doing, please remember trigger warnings. We're going to be talking about very, very sensitive subjects that, can be very triggering. So please, please take care of your mental health. And that is the most important thing. Okay. All right. So, I came across this. I came across this about Dolores, and it's in a blog. It's the blog. This blog, I ended up finding. That's where I found her photo. I found the photo of her and Red Shay, and her son. We're gonna look at his blog here in a second, but it says here Dolores. Now we're going to, again, guys, remember, you're going to see a lot of the same names going forward as we walk through and discuss a lot of these receipts, a lot of these documents. Okay. So you're going to see a lot of the same names. So we will see just Dolores Stokes later on, but I figured today is her story. And this is how she ended, and her story ended for her. Dolores Stokes passed away in 2010 after having been cajoled into giving her last remaining monies to Flag for Auditing in order to fix her physical deterioration. She was unable to get the auditing before she passed away. Apparently, her son Wally used the money for his training and his auditing. Wally has never been a trained Wally has never been trained as an auditor, nor has he ever run or held any type of title to the Scientology mission. And this person who's writing it says, as I understand it, he lives in LA and still works for Sterling Management or one of its iterations. Now, the reason that I wanted to just kind of bring this in, her son David. These are some of the things that her son David had posted. He posted a link on this website to his blog. So now we're going to check out his blog. So one sec. Let me just go to that tab. There we go. Share that tab now. And we're going to just kind of go. Now, I don't know how old. I don't think he actually says how old he was during his time or anything like that. Son of the year. Yeah, exactly. Right. Eat more pizza. Yeah. Yeah. Um, Jody, yeah, ABC Mouse is a Scientology company as well. And they have like a child development app that a lot of schools even use in school. It's a child development type of an app, right? Like, oh, this is a 1, this is a 2, this is a 3, and this is an A, and this is a B, and this is a C. So yeah, ABC Mouse. When I heard that, I did not know that. And I want to say I heard that on Serge's channel. Okay, so let me see. One second, guys. One moment. Give me one moment. I wish I had some like elevator music. One second. Like hold please, something like that. Um you know what, SP Walk, listen, you do you, okay? I just you do you. Like that's the one thing I can tell you that I have found through this entire process. Uh we all just need to be who we all are. Um eh, and you know, we're all adults. And if somebody gets offended because of your screen name, then that's probably them. It's probably their problem, not a you problem. Okay, so I found this blog. Gosh, I wish I could make it bigger, but I really, really can't. And this is her son. Uh, and this is from her son. And we're not going to go into all of it. And the reason is he gives us his pedigree in Scientology. And quite frankly, I'm not, again, I'm a never in. Hold on. Let me just wait. Hold up. Let me go back to, where am I? Here. I'm a never in. A lot of his abbreviations, if you're not a Scientologist, you may not get all of them. You may not know what they mean. I do not. I do not know every single, they have all of these 3 letters, 4-letter things, like for real. I couldn't even tell you what they all mean. I am lost in that language. It's, the military does it too, right? And I get it. I get why it's done because it's easier to remember. But again, it's Scientologies to me, Chinese. I can't read any other language but English. So I'm at a loss. So we're going to just talk a little bit about him, not a whole lot, because he gives us, like I said, his pedigree, everything he's done in Scientology, which I quite frankly don't understand. And I'm not in, it's not too important to me. It was his mother, in my opinion, who was again, my opinion, an alleged, was a sociopath, psychopath, predator. Okay. An actual predator. You know what I mean? I have to be so careful of the words we use. I don't even know. I mean, listen, for all I know, she could have even been a PDF file, for all I know. I don't know. In Marvin Feldman's account to the investigator, Ray McGregor, I mean, he said that she did that with her students. She had X with her students all the time. Like, hey, no big deal. This is nothing new, honey. This is what we do here. Like, it's all good. I just take off my Scientology hat. We do the nasty, and then you're all good. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. Who knows? I mean, if she was like auditing kids, I don't know. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I have no clue. All right. Her son, David Stokes. This is what he posted. He says, "Hi, my name is David Stokes." And I don't know if y'all can see his picture. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. I forgot. I have to put it in the other format. Sorry, guys. My apologies. All right. He says, "The first contact I had with Scientology was in 1960. My mother, Dolores Stokes, got involved about 1958 via a man by the name of Red Shea." And he's the guy that was in the photo with her. He says Red opened one of the earliest Scientology centers or franchises in Dallas, Texas. By 1966, now the article that we read, or I'm sorry, the interview that Ray McGregor got from Marvin Feldman that we read, that was from 1969. Okay. So he says, by 1966, I had received about 200 hours of auditing, much of it co-auditing. And I had done quite a few of the old courses like the COM course, objectives, and so forth. At the end of 1966, I quit high school. Now, did you guys get that? Did you get that? I want y'all process this for a second. Process this. He says, my mother, this is what he says. He says, my mother, let me go back to it at the beginning. The first contact I had with Scientology was in 1960. My mother, Dolores Stokes, got involved about 1958 via a man by the name of Red Shea. Red opened one of the earliest Scientology centers or franchises in Dallas, Texas. By 1966, he had already received 200 hours of auditing. Much of it, quote unquote, he says it, much of it co-auditing. And I had done quite a few of the old courses, COM course, objectives, and so forth. At the end, he says, in the beginning of this paragraph, he says, by 1966, I had already received 200 hours of auditing and much of it co-auditing. Then he says, at the end of 1966, I quit high school in El Paso and moved to Dallas. Process it. Process that for a second. Process that. So he was getting auditing 200 in 1966 is when he quit high school. He quit high school. So he was at the I'm going to give him guys, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he was 18. Maybe his birthday fell in whatever time of the year and he was like kind of later, whatever. But it doesn't say when he quit high. I don't know if he was in the 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, whatever. He says 1966 is when I quit high school. He quit high school. And by that time, he had already had 200 hours of auditing. And much of it was co-auditing. Well, we know the kind of auditing his mother did. So what does that mean, guys? Is there some hidden thing there? I don't know. So we know he had to have been 18 or under, and he'd already had 200 hours of auditing, and much of it was co-auditing. And we know that what his mother she kept saying, she said to Marvin Feldman, she told him, oh, this is like a normal thing. I do this with all my students. This is a normal thing. I just take off my Scientology hat and I put on my X hat and we get to do the thing. Thank you. Have a great day. She's doing it to this was a normal thing for her. So I don't know. I just, again, be honest. My goal this whole time has been trying to find evidence that auditing is happening to people when they're children. That's my ultimate goal. And I think that there's a little correlation of some sort here, because this isn't the only time, even though Marvin Feldman is the person who sits there and he's the one that sat and gave us this whole description of her saying that this was a normal thing, that she had a lot of X with, her students in her auditing sessions. And then her son comes along and says, well, I was first introduced in, blah, 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 and had 200 hours of auditing and co-auditing, and I quit high school. Well, like, dude, at the very least, you were 18. Right? Am I reading this wrong? I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there. This is all alleged. Just me thinking, me trying to put, pieces of the puzzle together, because I find it odd. Very strange. All right, let's see what else he says. So he says, my mother and brother Wally had gone to St. Hill earlier that year. I went to staff at the Dallas Center, which had been purchased by Alan C. Walters, a large man from Australia, from where I was given a job at Alan's new center in St. Louis. I worked there and then went off to St. Hill myself at the end of 1967. Again, I'm not going to go through his entire story. If you guys want to, let me give you guys the link. Let me just put it in the chat. If y'all want to go and read his blog. And if, if anybody wants to go check it out, go check the whole thing out. I just, it's very telling about Dolores and her story. And I think that there's going to be more. There will be more that she's in, that she plays parts in other stories and other encounters. So she is a character that has been unlocked in this story. And many, many, many more will be unlocked. Okay. But thank you guys for being here. It's been an hour and a half. Maybe my apologies. I really try to keep it at like an hour, but it's a lot. It's a lot to process, right? It's a lot to kind of think about. And I appreciate you. I'm going to, I know the other day in episode 1 of this series, I kind of said, oh, I'm going to do one every week. Yeah, guys, I'll never go anywhere if I do one a week. I've got to find a way to do more. I have to do more because there's just so much. There are so much to get through. But thank you for being here. Please remember, kids cannot consent. No more kids in Scientology. That is my goal. That is my goal. Yes, I want to shut them down any way I can. Their tax taking away, their tax exemption is definitely a way that can shut them down for sure. But in the meantime, I'm hyper focused on this goal right here. Kids cannot consent. They cannot consent. And auditing is abuse. And I am an advocate of no more children in Scientology. Okay. No more children in Scientology. Okay. Thank you guys so much. stay for the out. If you haven't seen my outro, stay for it. It's funny. Please like, share, subscribe. Thank you to my mods. Thank you guys for being here. Please remember to spread love and kindness wherever you go. And, you know, mental health is first. Please remember that. I can't say that enough. A lot of the stuff that we talk about and these subject matters we talk about are very, very heavy subjects. And sometimes people can't take them all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Please take care of your own mental health first. Okay. If you need to get up and take breaks, please do so. All right. Thanks, guys. Have your notification bells on. That way, you'll know when I go live with episode number 3, and we will talk about John McMaster. Okay. The very first clear in Scientology. All right. Spread love and kindness wherever you go, guys. Have a great week. Bye.
Being a Scientologist, when you drive past an accident, it's not like anyone else. As you drive past, you know you have to do something about it because you know you're the only one that can really help.
We were in the middle of our tournament when my friend John said he found a body in the bushes over there. I ran over there because I'm a healing monk to try and help, but obviously my magic wasn't strong enough because the dude's body was missing a head.
He or she has the ability to create new and better realities and improve conditions.
So my friend decided to try and use a necromancer spell, which didn't work, which I knew it wouldn't.
Being a Scientologist, you look at someone and you know absolutely that you can help them.
And apparently we contaminated the crime scene because that spell uses a lot of glitter.
I think it's a privilege to call yourself a Scientologist, and it's something that you have to earn.